So what we're doing, just to kind of, so welcome to everybody. I know people will still be coming in. Couple things. Nadine is logging everybody in. So she's going ahead and taking attendance and making sure that's good. She's also going to get from you what your preference is as far as the pie goes for our gratitude gathering for next month. So she's going to do that. We're going to do an online, just kind of like an update for you. We're going to do online for the potluck for next month so that we make sure that, you know, we don't have 12 pecan pies and nothing else to eat. Although that would be fun. But we want to make sure that we have a variety of things to eat. So what we're doing, and good morning, Ms. Prescott, how are you? So what we're doing, and a lot of you, and congratulations to you, which is very exciting. I would say over 60% of the roster is signed up now to do the 8-week coaching with Jarrett. And so as a company, you know, we've been teaching you about the 12 weeks. And so we go first, and as a company, we figure out how things work and we leverage that in the business. And as we do, we bring these skills to you so that you can integrate them into your business. So what we're doing this morning, and pretty much the platform for the way that the meeting is going to be conducted, is to show you how you can leverage technology in your business, how easy it is to leverage technology in your business. And you can do home buyer seminars, you can do buyer consultations, you can do such an unlimited amount of things. You can do webinars where you're teaching your clients all about the latest tips. Some of you can open up, and this is really cool. I'm learning a lot about YouTube channels. So Jarrett, and I'll let him speak on that too. You can leverage like a series. You could do your own series on YouTube and do like a series on buying and, you know, or stuff about investing, things that people really want to know about. So bringing those things to your clients, and then communication, because here's the really cool part about communication is if you can introduce body language, but you can be remotely doing so, because 55% of communication is body language. Isn't that shocking? I know, right? I see that. Yeah. So, and then if I'm getting the statistics accurate, 38% is tone of voice and 7% are words. So if all we've got are words on a page, right, or words in particular, hey, good morning. If all we have are words, we have a 93% chance of being misunderstood. Isn't that shocking? And I don't know about you, but I remember in school a 93% was an A. So 93 and above. So, you know, but in this case, it's in reverse. So we need to be able to leverage technology in our business because we've got really busy lives. The other thing is the average attention span. This is going to be shocking for some of you. I'm going to ask you the question, actually. Does anyone know the average attention span of the average American today? Okay, so I've got 90, 6 or 7 minutes, 7 minutes.
9 seconds.
It's 9 seconds. And do you know that that is the equivalent of a goldfish? That is no lie. So we're competing with so much information, right, that's coming in. So we've got to do it in a format that can capture our people's attention and we can engage them, because you've got 9 seconds for somebody to decide if they want to listen to you. Isn't that shocking? So we went to a Brian Buffini. Good morning, Frank. How are you, sir? So, you know, what is it if we can't have fun, right? So yes, we can. So it was really, it was shocking to me. Brian Buffini was sharing that, he was showing some of the different YouTubes, and Jarrett, as you know, is teaching, and he's gotten certified through the Napoleon Hill, Institute and Foundation, and bringing those principles to us. But Brian Buffini was sharing with us that when you look at those old pieces of wisdom through YouTube that you can view, and you see the number of likes, and then he showed us a YouTube of, Jarrett, what was it called? Are you there?
Yes, but I'm not sure what you're saying.
The YouTube video, was it Charlie
Bit me finger.
Oh, Charlie Bit Me Finger.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And it got like millions of views. And here you've got this wisdom, and there's like 3,000 likes on it, 3,000 views, and you've got millions of views of Charlie Bit Me Finger. So, yeah. So, we're drowning in information today, and we're starving for wisdom. True enough? We really are. So we want to bring wisdom principles to you, and in our welcome and the agenda for today. So Jarrett has the agenda pulled up. So you can look at the agenda for today, and I can see it here. You can see we're doing the welcome and the agenda. So then we're going to talk about our craft, our trade. DPOR, and we go through all the topics. So DPOR actually stipulates on an annual basis what they want a brokerage to provide to their agents, so that we can know exactly what the expectations are. So we're going to go over in a few minutes the DPOR record retention and requirements. Then we're going to go over our internal checklists and how that also goes right along with the DPOR requirements so that you can stay right on track. And then Jarrett's going to talk to us about the 12-week year, talking about planning and the Blitz review. We're going to do awards. We're going to do talk about referrals, mark your calendar, and then we're going to have mugshots and mimosas. Sound like fun? Yes. Awesome. Well, good. So Jarrett, in the welcome, sir, so why don't you go ahead and say a few things. If you can show them how you take the screen and how easy this is to do. By the way, this is just regular technology, regular computers. We're not doing anything fancy, nothing expensive. I want to show you how it can be done. All right, sir.
Well, hello, everybody.
Hello.
My favorite joke is the blonde girl goes into the library, and she goes up to the counter and she says, "I'd like a Big Mac fry and a large Coke." And the librarian looks at her, she's got her glasses down, and she said, "This is a library." She said, "I'd like a Big Mac fry and large Coke." So welcome from East Beach, and I'm glad everybody's there. So thank you so much. This particular topic for DPOR is going to be on record retention, and the main points is that what you have in your file you must maintain for 3 years. Susan's going to go into greater detail with that, and talking to you also about what we need from the firm standpoint in making sure those documents are retained and that we are all in compliance. So Susan, take it away.
All right, so of those topics, like I said, DPOR has an expectation. Hey, Lisa. You're welcome to come into the room. You don't have to bounce around. Okay. So DPOR has an expectation for us with record retention. And a lot of times people don't know how. So when you look up as an agent, the rules and the regulations, it can look a lot like, does everybody remember Charlie Brown when it had like parents or grown-up people? Exactly. Wah, 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 wah. Exactly. So that's what it can feel like when you read the record retention. So what we do is every month we go to the topic that they expect us to teach on, and then we synthesize that, and then we try to break it down for you into what category that has to do with, and exactly what the rules and the regulations are as far as that goes. So where DPOR is looking pretty much to hold us accountable as licensees and as a brokerage, and also where they categorize what they consider being out of bounds. right? So they have certain things that they call it when it's out of bounds, okay? So what we've done is with the checklist, and thank you, Ms. Prescott, for the reminder a couple months ago. Yes. So what we did is we went back to our checklist, and I'm going to go over these with you, not right this second, but I am going to go over the updated checklists, because what we do is we bounce everything that DPOR expects off of what we expect from you. So that if you follow these checklists, you are absolutely going to be in compliance. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah. So that's exactly how those are designed. So Jarrett and Sarah have reviewed them and made sure, and then what we do here is we make sure that you have everything that you need, so that if you're ever in a situation where you have to provide your file, because as I understand it, now I've never done it, but Sarah, Jarrett, don't they ask for like a copy of your file? Yes?
Yeah. And then there's if they do ask for written documents, we have 10 days to provide them.
Yeah, emailed you. So you have, what's that?
10 days to provide written documents when requested in writing.
Okay. So, and that's your whole file, right? So record retention. So there's going to be a couple key things, and if you would like a copy of the handout that I'm going to go over with you, we'd be glad to make a copy. We're also trying to reduce our carbon footprint to be, very consistent and gracious to the planet. And so we're only making photocopies of things. We used to make them and try to distribute and try to give you, lots of stuff. If you want one, please do let us know. We'd be glad to photocopy it for you. But we are also leveraging technology to try and keep everything. Yes, ma'am.
Email, download it, put it on. Yes.
Glad to do it.
Yes.
Glad to do it.
Just put it on the drive.
Yeah, so glad to do it. So whatever y'all would like. The other thing that we're doing too is Jarrett has established a YouTube channel, and part of doing this is we're going to start uploading some of these trainings, but really synthesize it down, because a certain amount of people can be here physically, and I know for myself, I like to attend things live. That's just my personality, but there are a lot of people that like to do things online. Right? So we're going to do that too, and through the YouTube channel, and we're going to show you how to build a YouTube channel so that your clients can leverage that, get onto your YouTube channel, look at what you've got, look at, again, you can be that expert, because we're going to talk a little bit later about what you're trading with your clients, so that, because in today's society, look, if we don't demonstrate our excellence, we become a commodity. Is that right? And do you know the only way that you can compete if you're a commodity? Does anybody know what the answer to that is? The only way you can compete if you become a commodity? Price. Right? That's it. So you have to really, you have to go to bargain basement discount if there's nothing special about you. Right? So if there's nothing special about you, you got nothing to sell. So we're going to talk about that. And Jarrett's going to be definitely talking about that to all of you that are especially in coaching, because it's the specialized knowledge portion. Okay. So with those checklists, what we're going to do is, and they are all there for you. Jarrett, can you talk just a minute about the DPOR regulations? I'm going to run and get something in the other room.
Sure.
Yeah, just about, and I'll be right back.
Well, let me stop that. And so the DPOR regulations regarding document retention is really pretty simple. They want to make sure that whatever you have clients sign specifically have to be kept for 3 years. And it's really, I think the SMAC committee from RAIN has done a really nice job. They've taken a lot of things like social security numbers off of the contracts. At one point, they used to be on there. So that helps us a great deal. And from a standpoint of credit, social security numbers, things like that, document retention, our stuff doesn't have to be held as securely. So Google Drive is still considered a sufficient way to do it. So if you want to maintain your records online, you can. You just have to be consistent. So others like to keep filing cabinets full of documents. It's not a requirement, but you are required to make sure you do have them, whether you scan them or whether you keep hardline documents yourself. Either way is acceptable. If you're doing property management, then those documents must be kept secure because you're going to have social security numbers from applications. Some of the best, I think, practices would be make the determination on your tenant screens. Anyone who is not selected, shred those. And anybody who is, I would like to see all credit applications shredded, and only maintain your handwritten personal notes on the various personal things regarding the clients. So that's the long and the short of it. Is a 3-year retention. And anything that the client has signed. It is strongly advised that you would keep in your personal file any handwritten notes, sticky notes. You could be held accountable for emails, some of your text messages, but for certain, it's going to be any of the documents that are written. We as a company are only going to be maintaining the forms that are signed, so there's no need, and we do not want your sticky notes and things like that. So we're just looking for what is put in writing. So
awesome. So just some like absolute hard and facts that we've gotten from D4. Number one, the documents are to be retained for 3 years, just like Jared said. So you have to have for three years. And Jared, I didn't hear whether you said that can be electronic.
Yes.
Okay. Good. And Google, if you've got it in the Google Drive and you've got a secure Google Drive, that is good enough for HIPAA. So I'm sure it's good enough for real estate requirements. Jared?
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
Yeah.
That's how we keep them as a brokerage.
Yep. And we pay for extra storage so that we have them, and then Google, God forbid, if Google goes down, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Yeah, right. I don't know what to say. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
This is 3 years from the date of closing.
So that's a great question. So let me tell you what the documents are. They're brokerage agreements. So that's from the date of a buyer checklist. And then if it becomes a contract, so if it falls through, and I'll go over that, then it's 3 years from the day that you had that original document signed. But if it becomes an actual transaction, it's 3 years from the time of that transaction once you got a ratified contract, and then 3 years. Jared, anything to add to that?
I think just to simplify what you said, you're accurate. It would be 3 years from the last activity, which is typically closing.
But if it's not a consummated transaction, then it's 3 years.
Termination or a release.
3 years, yeah. So from the last activity. So those are brokerage agreements, includes dual and designated agency disclosure and consents. This is right from D4. Number 2, the disclosure of brokerage relationship to an unrepresented party form must be retained for 3 years from the date provided to the party. So pretty much if they're a customer, you're not representing them. Jared, that does not include like the tenant screens, right?
Tenant screens. I'm not sure.
Okay. It's a brokerage relationship with an unrepresented party, so that would not be a
Well, a tenant is an unrepresented party.
But
so when in doubt, I think it's always best to disclose and keep the form.
Okay. I made specific notes about documents to be retained either, and there you go, Ms. Christine, from the date of closing or ratification if the transaction fails to close. So what they're considering that they want to see in your file is A, executed purchase contracts, B, any executed release from a contract. This is right from D4. C, executed lease agreements. D, executed property management agreements, and E, closing disclosures from every transaction, of course, if it closes. So they are expecting that to be in your file, and then our file has to be a mirror of written documents. As Jared, I heard him telling you, not your sticky notes, not your emails. the firm has to have a complete copy of anything that you've had signed that's a document. Okay, so we have to do that. It says the broker must maintain a complete and accurate record of all the escrow receipts and disbursements for a period of 3 years from the date of closing or termination of the purchase transaction or termination of the lease or conclusion of the licensee's involvement in the lease. They always make things a little weird there at the end, or your involvement. So, you know, but I think the way that Christine said it was from the last time that you had interaction. So 3 years from that point, if it didn't go to closing or if they didn't, you know, turn into a property management agreement. Jared, anything to add to that, sir?
Nope, I think that's pretty clear.
Okay, so here's the two things that they call it as far as what the finable offenses are, okay? Because I always want you to know what those are. The first finable offense that they put it under, it's called actions that are failing to safeguard the public. That's probably what I've seen as their favorite. Actions failing to safeguard the public. It says, and here's the one, and you really need, I need your help with this, and we need your help with this. Licensees must timely deliver to the broker all relevant documents related to the transaction. That's the EMD, the contracts, the listing agreement, the leases, or any other documents for which we have oversight, which is everything that's written in is a document. So when they say timely, Jarrett, what's timely?
As soon as you can. As soon as you can. And they seem to be, you know, they post the investigations and they post the violations, and the timelines are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. A recent situation, this is something that you may not, especially if you've been doing it for a long time, the timelines were not quite as stringent.
Right.
Recently, we had we were representing the buyer, and the buyer made some notification with their lender that they were deciding not to get the loan because of some reason, like flood insurance or something like that, that they told the lender to stop doing their thing. The lender notified the agent, and at that point, that's a material change in the contract, and we immediately must notify the other party. So you can't sit on it, and you certainly can't sit on it and wait for closing to come around and say, oh, well, you know, sorry. As soon as even though we represent the buyer in this case, and we have to hold their information confidential, because it's a material condition of the transaction, we have to notify the other party as soon as we are aware that a situation like this takes place. Does that make sense?
So as soon as they've been stating, it was within a couple of days from what I've read in these interactions. So when we're reading these case studies, it seems to be like once it goes past 3 days of no communication with the other side, that's where they seem, from everything I've read. Jarrett, would you agree?
I would. Yep.
So that can kind of be like your, you know.
And I would say 3 days if it's a weekend. I would not say 3 days if it's business days.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna be shorter.
Okay. I didn't read into that. So thank you. I appreciate that clarification. And then what they call actions constituting improper record keeping include, number one, failing to retain for a period of 3 years. So failing to retain your documents. They're going to call that improper record keeping, and that is a finable offense. So, you know, if you don't have it and they ask for it, that's a problem. That's in your control or possession. And it says unless prohibited by law. So it's information you're not allowed to have. They're not looking for that. Number two, having received money on behalf of others and failed to maintain a complete and accurate record of such receipts and their disbursements for a period of 3 years from the date of closing or termination of a lease or conclusion of your involvement, licensee's involvement. Okay. So you need to have a copy of that EMD, you know, or anything else, or if there's additional earnest money, you should have a copy of it, right? So cash, I don't know, you know, copying cash is supposed to be prohibited by law. So I would say don't.
Just a receipt, make a receipt. We prefer that we not accept cash, right? You can just say that's a company policy. We don't take cash for earnest money deposits. We can do that.
Yep. And then number three, failing within a reasonable time to account for or to remit any money coming into the licensee's possession which belongs to others. So those are all the actual written rules. And if you'd like them emailed, just let me know. Just email me and I'd be glad to email that, like I said, to you. These new checklists that we have, they are uploaded on the Google Drive, right, Ms. Jamie? Yeah, so they are uploaded on the Google Drive, and she's also made a photocopy of all the new checklists, and they're out in the bullpen. There's only a couple copies, so you can make as many copies for yourself as you want to, but I recommend that you go ahead and just save them on your desktop. Yeah, absolutely. So just go ahead and save them on your desktop. So here you see, so what we've got is a new listing checklist. There is a new ratified contract checklist for the seller. These are all based on all of RAIN's changes, okay? Because RAIN's made a significant amount of changes. Contingency removal checklist, the I closed check please transaction exit form, the ratified contract checklist for a buyer, the contingency removal checklist for a buyer, the buyer broker checklist for a buyer, the I closed check please transaction exit form for a buyer. So all of those. For clarification, we don't have like an actual timeline of when you're getting things to us regarding contingency removals. We've never really stipulated. We've kind of done the same thing as DPOR, as quickly as time permits, right? We've done the same thing. I will tell you that we really do need those as quickly as you can get contingency removals to us so that we can get that updated in RAIN, so that it's accurate as to what's happening with the property. So as we remove contingencies, my preference is 48 hours, within 48 hours of your removing of the contingency. That way we can keep an accurate record in the file. We know exactly, and we know how many contingencies, and that also cues us from a systems perspective when to put the listing pended, so we want to put it in pending, but we can't do that until all the contingencies are removed. So even if you've got a POA contingency or a condo contingency and the home inspection contingency has been removed, but we don't get the POA contingency removal or we don't get the condo contingency removal, we can't put it as pending. And then we run into problems marking it sold within a certain amount of time, because RAIN has really strict guidelines on how soon you can put it as sold once all the contingencies have been removed. Does that make sense to everybody? So, from pending to sold. So if we get, yes, so that it's already, so that the property is sold and marked it as sold. So if we get, so here's just, this is really real live, this happens like on a daily basis. We get the contingencies have been removed and we get the closing disclosure and the transaction exit forms on the same day. And we can't put it as pending and then on the same day put it as sold. Okay, so we have to have a, yes, sir.
On the new form, is the termite still being requested? That's what holds me up, turning it in.
Is turning it in.
Because you don't get that termite, you have to call around to try to get it just because of that checklist. I never had to turn it in before, prior to, but because most sellers won't sign it until closing.
Sure.
So we can get the buyer to do it because the buyer,
sure,
some of the company has, but
sure,
not working with the seller or the opposite.
Sure.
Most agents are still in the mindset of getting it signed.
Yeah.
At closing.
Yeah.
So holding on that contingency report basically is because I don't have a termite.
You still don't have a termite.
Turn it all in at one time. So if you still request it, I guess we turn it in, and then once we just have to request a termite at the closing.
That's a great. Yep, that's a great question. So in the contract, it is dependent upon the removal of that contingency. RAIN doesn't have, even though the contract stipulates that, RAIN doesn't have that in the contingencies. So we're going to mark it as pending once the contingencies that RAIN requires, right? So we're going to remove it for the home inspection. We're going to remove it for the, yes, ma'am.
What about when you're doing a land contract and you have a due diligence period? There's nothing in the contingencies that say that. And
yeah,
but I mean, because I know Q had made my contract on a couple pieces of land pending, but they weren't pending. They were in a due diligence period. So I had to take them back out of pending because
Right.
the buyer, the seller wanted to take more contracts and not because it was a 40-day due diligence period.
Sure.
4 months, sorry, 4 months. So we didn't want to have it pending for 4 months.
Sure.
So where's the rule on that? Because I've had to have that discussion.
Pending should be pending when all contingencies are removed. So I think that it should have remained just inactive until all the contingencies are removed, and then and that's per the as per the contract. So that's pretty much the way it is. And Greg, in regards to the termite inspection, I made some notes with it. The reason that we did the checklist the way that we did the checklist was to make it as easy for the agents as a constant reminder, because every document that gets done according to the checklist is the accuracy level is so much higher when checklists are used. So, I've instructed the staff not to accept documents unless it comes with a checklist. And on the termite inspection, that's a good point. We're going to get together and talk about that. And because I don't want the termite inspection to hold up you turning in the forms when all the other contingencies are met, specifically the items like the PICRA or the condo or the homeowners association documents. The termite, we may just very well remove that. We don't have a requirement from DPOR to have the termite and moisture. We were going the extra mile to take it upon ourselves just to make sure that got done. And it's good for us to have a copy of the termite in case our file is audited. We've got that available to us. But it's a good point, and I appreciate that. And Christine, I appreciate your point as well.
Yeah.
So Susan,
Yes.
so Jarrett's saying that every time we turn in a contingency removal, we have to have a copy of the checklist.
We really do need
Okay.
it. Yeah.
So
with
what
it
we can
marked.
do is just take the primary checklist and make a copy and
Yes.
just. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. And then just date it. Yeah.
Okay. That's a
Notate
good
it for
idea.
me. Yeah. And what we're doing also is we're updating our file checklist here, and it's going to notate exactly when we received each one of those. So an internal file checklist. So I'm adding that so we show exactly the date that we received the listing, the date that we received those contingencies. So just continuing to improve on our own systems. So yeah, Sarah was here all day yesterday, and we were putting our heads together. And then I was telling Jarrett about what we were discovering. Again, just continuously innovating and improving our systems.
So to keep that really simple, really no documents should be sent to the firm unless it has a checklist attached to it.
Yeah, because so we try to be accommodating though. And just let we still, like I said, we still try to be very accommodating if we can be, but it really does help us. And because we're going to a really easy to follow system, and Jared will be talking to you about business systems that are easy to follow, that make it consistent, the delivery process consistent. If we can just put it in the file with a checklist every time, that just makes our file really easy. And then in the event we ever have to produce it, it's in an exact order. And then we're perfecting that. We should have that perfected probably by the end of the year. So if you wanted to follow the same file, we call it a file stacking order. So if you wanted to follow our file stacking order, I'd be glad to share that with you. So that your files mirror our files.
And I'm a proponent that the stacking order is in the same order as the checklist.
Absolutely. That's exactly what we're going to do. So we'll
Simple
build
and
it
easy.
build it from the bottom up. So,
It's got dates on it.
Yep, exactly.
Build it from
That's exactly right.
dates, not the
Right.
check on the thing.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, exactly. So, we're continuing to perfect our delivery systems. And Jarrett, is actually time to get into the 12-week year, the planning and the Blitz review, which that's a nice segue because talking about delivery systems is a part of our 12-week plan. So, all right, sir. So I'm gonna turn it over to you a bit, and then I will comment as well. All right, take it away, sir.
Well, that sounds great. So let me make a couple of adjustments here. And Mr. Gunner, if you do you have the ability, Gunner, at this point to play that quick YouTube 1 minute long?
Yes, sir.
It's so cool too. YouTube's free. This stuff's free. Google Calendar, YouTube, love it.
Hello, this is the information video on week 1. And by the end of this, you should be able to fill out your coaching intake form and be able to get that back to me prior to our coaching conference. Week 1 is a 4-step process to a 12-week, 3-part plan. Again, that is a 4-step process to a 12-week, 3-part plan. So the 4 steps is, first of all, desire. What is it you want? Step 2 is the trade and the difference between generalized knowledge and specialized knowledge that we use in real estate, and the value of specialized knowledge and how people use specialized knowledge to make the most amount of money. Then step 3 is to know what we want by when, putting a due date on it. And step 4 is to create a 12-week plan on the 3 parts of a real estate business, which is step 1, which is to retain, step 2, which is to recruit, step 3 is to deliver. Looking forward to seeing you. Please have your coaching intakes form back to me and get on time. Thanks. Bye-bye.
So that's his week 1 that'll be going out to everyone. That's the video that goes out for week 1 for the coaching sessions. All right, Mr. Schaefer.
So this was a slideshow. It was a requirement from a coaching program, and it was an assignment that I had to do. And the reason I want to show it to you is, well, it's basically my story, and we can never go wrong when we tell our story. And I just want to tell you a little bit about me. I was born June 16, 1967, and I don't know if anybody's ever seen this, but this is a picture of me and my first love, which is Miss Susan at age 2.
That's me. That's Jared.
So we've known each other for quite a while, as you can see. Ended up marrying that girl in 1987. Came to Virginia the usual way through the Navy. You know, this is really the starting point of what I wanted to say, and that is in 1988 was the first time that I had ever had a goal-setting experience. And the short-term goals were to, 1, see the world. Number 2 was to go to college, and number 3 was to build a house on the water. And over my life, I was able to do the 7 countries while I was in the military. Ended up getting a little bit of education, and ended up getting my house on the water with beautiful dolphins to be able to drink coffee and say hello every morning as those guys swim by. You know, life was really good for a long time. And in real estate specifically, you know, we opened our the title company in the industry in 1990, grew it, became just a powerhouse of an organization until 2007, when things changed a little bit and revenue dropped 37% in 1 year. That was a very painful year, and I'm sure, you know, those that have been in real estate, by show of hands, anybody experienced some challenging difficulties in 2007? Yeah, right? It was a bit painful. And if it was just 1 year, that would have been one thing, but it continued to drop for 7 consecutive years.
It was. It was rough.
That is absolutely brutal.
It was brutal.
And the results, well, I got behind on my taxes. My tax burden was more than I could handle. There was no end in sight. Financial pressure continued to grow. Debt swelled. Then our house caught on fire. My dream house that we'd worked for 30 years caught on fire, and we were displaced for over a year.
Yeah.
Pain, right? To try to make up for it, I'm like, okay, I can just work harder. Anybody been in a situation where things are a little rough, so what you do is you just work a little harder? Well, my hours got up to about 90 hours a week. My attitude was total negative, and I was in total pain. But through that, you know, I realized that I'd lost perspective. And I nearly lost my house, and I nearly lost my wife. Didn't know what to do. Was confused, perplexed, disoriented, bewildered. Tough story, but it's true. But then life changed really when I began one-to-one coaching. Now, my coaching experience has been with Buffini and Company, and James Bell has helped me a tremendous amount. Susan and I have both been mentors of Buffini and Company for about 12 years now. And it wasn't until 2015 when I was looking through the same website on his Referral Maker website that had been there forever. There's a little link called recommended reading. And it had been there the entire time, but I wasn't ready, or I just hadn't seen it. But James had made mention of it, and it was just a whole series of events that ended up getting to this one particular book of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And when I was through this Keys of Success principle and 17 individual principles, that's really where it became just a life-changing experience. And I'm sharing that with you because also this is an audiobook with Audible. Susan is a visual learner, so she uses her eyes and she wants to read a book. She wants it tangibly in her hand. She wants a pen so she can mark and take notes. But I'm an Audible learner. So I use Audible, and it doesn't really make a difference if which way you learn best. The most important thing is that we do gain that knowledge however you were designed. So I like the audiobooks a lot. Dr. Hill's philosophy is the most comprehensive system that's ever been created, and it's been around. It was originally published, Think and Grow Rich, in 1937, so it's 80 years old. And the content of that material has been held by the Napoleon Hill Foundation. Napoleon set up the nonprofit before he passed away, and gave all rights to the foundation. So this information is just powerful. They estimate that over 150 million people have read the book. It accounts for, there are more millionaires that account for their millions through this information than any other. So I thought, you know what, maybe this is a good idea for real estate people that want to learn how to sell and to gain wealth, to teach the most impressive sales material ever written. And from there, started working with my coach and developing an idea of one-to-one coaching and putting it together and putting it in line with what's happening with the Blitz. So step one to all success is to decide what it is that you want. Step two is to make a plan and then get started. And quite frankly, it doesn't matter how sound your plan is. It's just a matter of getting it rolling. That's the important piece. Do everything with an attitude of gratitude. Personal 5-year results from a spiritual life to go from negative attitude to an attitude of gratitude. Personal life, lost 55 pounds within the first year of coaching. Today is day 657 consecutive days that we haven't missed a day of doing 2 miles a day. It's pretty cool. From a relational standpoint, saved my marriage and my family. From a business life, healthy growth, finances, taxes paid, debts improving. Now the ability to help others to set goals, and lots of other people to be able to set goals. We've got 38 folks are currently registered for the Blitz and doing one-to-one coaching, and that's pretty exciting stuff. Frank had his best year ever at age 80. Way to go, Frank. What does it do when working with a coach? Well, specifically when working on something like increasing profits, it allows things to adjust. We make better decisions, and profit is simply revenue minus expenses. So keeping it really simple, we don't need an MBA to be able to figure out what to do and how to do things. Financial pressure decreased, taxes paid in full, walked over 1,000 miles.
All the way.
Yeah, teamwork at an all-time high. Now, it takes a special moment here. For teamwork to be at an all-time high, if there are team players that don't fit the team, there's only one way to have a great team, and that is going to be removing some folks if they don't fit. A renewed marriage with passion. A stronger family, and not only from last year, but also this year. And our kids are more excited to spend time with us now than ever before. And it makes sense. I didn't like me So how could our kids possibly like me, right? It's true. Having fun again and having a life that's worth living. And, it's about taking that first step to decide what it is that we want. And all of that to say, I have 2 spots left. If anybody's interested in signing up for this 8-week blitz, now's the time. All you have to do is reach out to me, give me a call. We'll talk through it. We'll get you started. It's very simple. You saw the YouTube video. That's about how much work it's going to take on your own to watch that, fill out an intake form so that we get together. We have something to talk about. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Well done, sir. So the 4-step process, right? So I'm going to give you the 4-step process again. So if you're a note taker, you take notes on your phone, or if you're just one of those people that thinks through things. So the first step, number 1, is desire. You have to know what you want. Do you know how shocking it is when I remember the first time Jarrett said, "What do you want?" I'm like, ice cream. No. But what do you want? What do you really want? Like, what do you really want in your soul? It's really funny. Dr. Hill from, the 1930s, he says in his grandpa voice, he's like, "What is that one thing that you desire of your whole life?" And I'm like, excuse me, that's a big thing. That one thing. So, but what do you want, right? What do you really want? You kind of got to do some soul searching to figure out, what do you really want? How do you want to live? What is your desire? What is that one thing that's going to drive you? Step 1. What do you want?
Susan, I'm going to jump in for just a second. What you're saying is so accurate. When we think of our whole lifetime, that's just so broad, right? And even if you take it out a couple of years and say, well, gosh, I don't know what I want that to look like. Some of us, as we're looking at 2018, which is almost upon us, even that seems a little daunting. We're not exactly sure what's going to happen with that. So our recommendation, what we're going to be doing with the Blitz and through this coaching, is to boil it down to something that's really simple. And it's what do you want by the end of the year? What do you want by December 15th when we say that's it, we're done, and then be able to make a plan to be able to move in that direction. So Susan, sorry to interrupt you. You were talking about the 4 steps to a 12-week 3-part plan. Yep.
So step 1 is, what do you want? So you really do need to know long-term, like Jarrett showed you. He knew long-term what he wanted. But what do you want? And we're going to break it down, kind of like break it down from there. What do you want? What do you want to achieve? So in the next, and as he said, for this 12 weeks, what do you want? What do you want in this 12 weeks? So we're going to take it. What we're doing as a company, those of you that are business students, we're taking everything from a macro level and taking it to a micro level so that you can implement everything that we're implementing just like you are, right? Because we're all doing this together. So that's step 1. Step 2 is, what are you willing to trade? What are you willing to trade? Because as Dr. Hill says, no one gets something for nothing. So you have to trade. And people aren't willing to pay for general knowledge, right? No one's willing to pay us for saying that we're driving down the expressway and the speed limit's 55 miles per hour. General knowledge. We're being paid for specialized knowledge. So that's something that Jarrett's diving into during the coaching. What does that specialized knowledge look like for your business? It is specific to you, right? Okay. Number 3 is the time frame. We've picked the time frame for you. Lots of goal sessions are like, okay, pick a goal, pick a timeline. It's overwhelming because you're like, okay, what amount of time? So we've picked 12 weeks. You don't have to use the 12 weeks. We've just found it's very successful because it breaks it down into chunks. And number 4 is have a 3-part plan. That 3-part plan, okay? And it's in all real estate. We've owned lots of businesses over the years, lots of them. And you can break all businesses down into systems. And there's 3 systems in real estate, and we've learned them. Here's what they are. Number 1, it's retain. You've got to retain the clients that are in your sphere of influence. You've got to retain those that your sphere. You've got to retain. That is the most profitable. 5 times more profitable than getting a new client is keeping an old one. Okay? And getting referrals from those through a systematic approach. Number 2 is recruit. Okay? Sorry, Christine. She's working on one. It's painful. She's working on one now. So, recruit. When we use the word recruit, some people think of a real estate company, but you're recruiting new clients, right? You are. And if you think about it like that, it changes your mindset. We encourage you to take that in because you do have to recruit new clients. You do. And if you think about the word recruit, you're like, ooh, that's sales. Yes, it is. You got to recruit new clients. And number 3 is delivery. Okay, delivery. Delivery is what you do, your delivery systems. That you should give the same service every single time, and it should be automated and systemated, and you should know exactly what you're doing. Your paper should be the same piece of paper every single time, and your delivery system should be consistent. And that way you will not experience just that frenzy that happens in real estate. We've learned there is just a frenzy that happens if you don't have those systems buttoned down. So that's the 4-part plan that Jarrett is teaching during the coaching session. He can do 40 people in an 8-week session. Like you said, he's got 38. He's got outside people that are clamoring and asking. He's reserving 2 more spots. So he's going to fill them with our people first. But if you're interested, he is available. And week 1, so it was week 0 before. Now we're in week 1, and you saw the little video. So if you're interested, just want to help, just want to serve you. That's what we're here for. Real estate brokerage exists to help their agents sell more houses. That's it. That's why we're here. And you're a real estate agent to help your clients sell houses and help your clients buy houses. That's it, right? And then we trade that specialized knowledge. So that's pretty much the inspire and inform portion. Jarrett, over to you, sir, for awards. Our awards are, we've got 1 in the crowd and 2 that couldn't be here.
So congratulations to our top listing agent, Mr. Joe McAvoy. Excellent job. And I just recently realized that Joe is a certified diver, hadn't been diving in 20 years. So he pulled out his wetsuit, and we broke it out and went to the quarry one afternoon and spent some time diving. So Joe, well done with you and your team. Top selling agent, Ms. Angie Clark. Congratulations, Angie. You're doing great. I love working with you, Angie. Your paperwork is always perfect. Your clients are always sweet and nice. So appreciate what you do there. And best team player, Miss Kathy Durbin. Kathy, thank you for all you do. We're grateful for you. Shout out for peers. Cheers for peers. If anybody has anything that they would like to share, that maybe something cool that somebody else did for them, we'd love to hear it. So we'd like to open the floor. Anybody have any cool experiences that they'd like to share?
We got a couple minutes.
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to thank Lisa. There was some mistake on some paperwork for one of my closings, and the settlement company on the buyer side messed up the paperwork, paid my seller and out of my commission.
Ooh.
And that there was some mistakes on the other side of the paperwork, and she talked to my seller, and he agreed to send the money back, which
Wow.
Awesome.
mistakes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. That's awesome.
Kudos to Lisa for working that out.
Thank you. She was running down the hall, but we'll tell her because we're going to record this for YouTube, so all the people who are not here get to see it. So, awesome. Thank you, Kathy. Anybody else? We got just a minute. Cool. All right, Mr. Schaefer. So referrals, that's you, sir, on the agenda.
Well, quite simply, we are always looking to build this build our brokerage with great people that are just like you. You know, the number one requirement that we have is a positive mental attitude, and we want nice people. And the second thing is production, and in that order. So we have to have folks that produce, but they have to be nice. And if they're not nice or they're not producers, then they can't stay here. There's plenty of places where they can go, but that's what we're looking for. So if you run across somebody that you think would be a really great fit, we appreciate you. So this is our demonstration of asking for referrals, and we encourage you to be asking for referrals too as you're doing your business. As simple as that. We would also like to move on to the mark of your calendar for the November Dynamic Office meeting. And it's right behind it is going to be a gratitude gathering potluck. So we'll be celebrating some Thanksgiving. If you would bring your favorite Thanksgiving dish that you're known for. I'm curious what Mr. Covington cooks. What's your favorite?
He already signed up, actually. He signed up early.
Signed up, it'd be a surprise.
Oh, surprise. Yeah, well, okay. Mm-hmm. I hear it's famous.
I know what it is.
And that's going to be Wednesday, November the 15th, same 9:30 time frame. So make sure you mark your calendar. We want to make sure that everybody is able to enjoy that. Hey, before we move on, does anybody have any questions in regards to what we talked about with either the document retention or the coaching? Because we do have a couple of moments to stay within our 75 minutes to work on our craft. These are important. Any questions?
Nope.
Great. Then we'll just keep on keeping on. Then we wanted to take a moment to talk about the mugshot and the mimosas, just to make sure that everybody knows what's taking place. I'm going to be packing my stuff up and heading there, so I'll see you in about 20 minutes for my headshot. Look, we're just improving the overall quality of everything we're doing, from our marketing material, our website, and pictures are a great place to go. So Susan, will you give some directions as to what folks can expect? And again, a nice shout out to Atlantic Bay Mortgage for providing professional photographer for us today.
You got it. So what they're going to do is they're going to set up in the hallway. So they've selected a spot. So they're going to check the lighting just to, because the natural lighting is important for our pictures. So what they're going to do is they're going to be here. They're going to serve mimosas. So don't have so many that your photo is really interesting. So
no drooling.
No drooling, please. No drooling, please. But it is fun. So, we want you to enjoy. They're going to be here setting up. They're going to be here for a couple of hours to take those headshots for you. Teams, if you want a team, that's going to be, on your own. So if you want to do that, ask Jamie about that. She can talk to you about that. And we are going to get a shot of everybody outside. So there's some cones that are marked off so that we can get a nice photo for the company.
We'll try to do
outside.
that one first in case people weren't staying for anything.
Yep, cool. So that is our 75 minutes, sir. It is 10:30 officially.
Fantastic.
Right?
Well, thanks everybody for coming. We know it's a sacrifice, but we appreciate you, and thanks for the 75 minutes to work on your craft. And if you have any questions at any point, pick up the phone, give me a ring. It's so much easier to talk through it before the client signs than after. So,
so we'll see you, sir, soon.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right.